Actually, no matter what the weather, is always open because I'm hard standing, and that's at the Central Station sitting ball. There's about 100 stalls there. But yet again, I'm afraid that's it. We better go off and find some more boot sales. See you again. Don't forget, there's always a boot sale bargain out there.
Well, next Sunday it'll be the turn of the collectors themselves to unearth the valuables when Boot Sale Challenge goes to Hanworth.
This I've got to say. Oh, I died.
Ordinary people are going from oblivious to glorious.
Not a wind-up, it's for real.
In the show that's all about what it takes to become a star.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Join host Les Dennis as 4 nominated hopefuls try to go from obscurity to immortality in the new series Give Your Mate a Break, next Saturday 5 to 7, ITV.
Hello, Gov.
Yeah, Tennyson.
Oh, good. We've got a special assignment for you starting Monday, June 28th.
Where?
ITV2. It's an entire week for your most memorable cases.
Mm-hmm.
Every night from 9, we're calling it Prime Suspect Week.
Right.
Do you think you can handle it?
Oh, believe me, it will be a pleasure.
Prime Suspect Week begins Monday from 9 on ITV2.
ITV2, a free new channel available on digital, terrestrial and cable TV. Call now. You're watching LWT.
Tony Benn says he's leaving Parliament, but not politics. 4 found murdered after their house is set ablaze. And Damon Hill, this probably was my last Grand Prix.
From ITN, the ITV Weekend News with Nicholas Owen.
Good evening. Tony Benn, the man best known as the leading voice of the Labour left, today announced he's standing down as an MP at the next general election. But Mr. Benn, who's 74, insists it won't mean the end of his political career. He says he's leaving Parliament after almost half a century because he wants to devote more time to politics. Here's Andrew Symonds.
Tony Benn was insisting today that in stepping down from the Commons, he isn't retiring from politics, accusing New Labour of losing its commitment to social justice and peace, as he has done repeatedly in the Commons recently, opposing attacks on Iraq and Serbia. He says he wants to devote more time to politics. Mr. Benn has become a thorn in the side of Tony Blair. Branded a rebel from within, vilified by Labour and Tory opponents for his left-wing views, yet admired by all shades of opinion for his intellect. In the cluttered basement offices beneath his London home, he told me why he will leave the Commons at the next election after half a century as a parliamentarian, recording the interview as another chapter of his personal diaries, kept on his mini video and tape recorder.
Do you honestly believe you can do more outside Parliament than from within?
If I'm to be able to say what I believe on issues that come up, it's easier to do it now outside Parliament than inside Parliament. I have to be true to the people who elected me, and I have to be true to myself, and I think that will be easier, and I'll have more time to do it if I'm not in the House of Commons.
At his Derbyshire constituency of Chesterfield, Labour activists were disheartened at the news.
It's sad that there aren't too many younger people coming through of Tony's calibre, but Tony will certainly be a great loss to the party.
The son of a lord, Anthony Wedgwood Benn, as he was known in the 60s, had renounced his birthright. He served as Technology Minister in Harold Wilson's first government and Industry Secretary in the 70s. Earlier this month, his son Hilary was elected a Labour MP in the by-election for Leeds Central, continuing his political dynasty. Andrew Symonds, ITN.
2 young girls, their mother and their grandmother, have been found murdered at their home in Swansea. Their house was also set on fire. Detectives believe the killer tried to destroy evidence of the attack. Tim Rogers reports.
Police have sealed off the street where the family were found murdered in the early hours this morning. Scenes of crimes officers and forensic experts have been sifting through the debris at the house in the quiet street at Clydach near Swansea, where a neighbour raised the alarm after seeing smoke this morning. When police and the fire service arrived at the scene, they found that 80-year-old Doris Dawson, her daughter, 34-year-old Amanda Power, and Mrs. Power's two daughters, 10-year-old Katie and 8-year-old Emily, had been murdered. Police believe the attacker had killed them before setting fire to the house in an attempt to cover up the crime. 50 detectives have been brought in to investigate the case. At a news conference, senior officers said Mrs. Power was popular in the area and there was no obvious motive for what had happened.
Amanda's been described as a fun-loving, devoted mother of two.
The senior detectives say that this is one of the worst murder inquiries they've ever had to deal with, but there are no suspects at present, and they've appealed for anyone with information to come forward. Tim Rogers, ITN, Swansea.
The Ulster Unionist leader David Trimble today challenged Sinn Fein to declare that the IRA will completely disarm by May next year. Mr. Trimble said that could save the Good Friday Agreement. John Draper reports.
Republicans and Loyalists held peaceful marches today. These orange men were rerouted away from a Catholic area of Belfast's Ormeau Road. A few miles away at Stormont, David Trimble again called for a clear Republican statement on weapons to end the political deadlock.
What we want to hear from them, clearly and unequivocally, speaking on behalf of the Republican movement, is that they accept an obligation to decommission all paramilitary weapons before May 2000. If they say that, then there's something to talk about.
Republicans in Derry were commemorating dead IRA members. They marched to a cemetery where, among those who listened to a graveside oration, was Sinn Féin's Martyn McGuinness, but he wouldn't respond to Mr. Trimble's challenge.
So many things have been said by unionist leaders over the course of recent times. I think the community could be forgiven for being confused, but I think that what we have to do is go into the discussions tomorrow morning, sit down in a sane and reasoned way and work out how we can break this impasse.
The two governments have given the parties until Wednesday to break that impasse. John Draper, ITN.
NATO's commander in Kosovo said today he hopes the arrival of Russian peacekeepers will help Serb civilians feel safer. But it's failed to quell the immediate fears of Serbs after more revenge attacks by ethnic Albanians. Elsewhere, thousands of refugees are continuing their long march home, only to find despair on their return. From Kosovo, Joe Andrews reports.
The household cavalry on reconnaissance deep in the hills of eastern Kosovo. It's over 2 weeks since KFOR troops entered this country, but in the remote rural areas there are still people getting their first sight of the peacekeeping force. In this valley, many homes have been ransacked and destroyed, and everyone has their own story. Ganimeti Makoli and her sister were asleep when the Serbs arrived early one morning. She was shot as she escaped, and her father hasn't been seen since. The Hadjuli family came home from a refugee camp 2 days ago to live in a burnt-out shell of a home. These people are surviving in the ruins of their villages, but they're running short of basics like flour and medical supplies. The aid agencies have now arrived in force in Pristina, but there's little sign of them in places like this. Everywhere we went here, people were asking for help. In Pristina, the aid agencies say they will get there.
We're reaching, on average, about 50,000 people a week, so hopefully in the next few weeks we'll reach everybody.
But it's not a simple matter of making one drop. Families like the Hadjulis will need help to feed themselves for months, in a land where the reconnaissance patrols can see that many of the fields are derelict and much of the local manpower is missing. Joe Andrews, ITN, Marevs, Kosovo.
There are reports today that Prince Charles may move the royal court from Buckingham Palace to Windsor when he becomes king. The radical shift is said to be part of the prince's desire to modernise the monarchy, but the prince's office dismissed the reports as speculation. The controversial child support agency is to be given tough new powers which could lead to absent parents facing jail if they fail to pay child maintenance. Details are expected to be announced by the government tomorrow. And the BBC's entire output is to be checked for political bias by a specialist firm hired by the Conservative Party. The Tories are furious the BBC appointed Greg Dyke as Director General, even though he donated more than £50,000 to Labour in recent years. People who miss their holidays because of delays in the issuing of passports will be paid compensation. There is, though, a sting in the tail. Other travellers will foot the bill in the fees they pay. Lucy Manning has the details.
13-year-old Paul Cousins should be on his school trip to Disneyland Paris on Wednesday, but his passport hasn't arrived yet.
Well, I've been talking about it at school. Well, when passport comes, couldn't believe it.
I sent off on the 13th of April for his passport, and I thought that was sufficient time.
With a backlog of 500,000 applications, passports are arriving at the last moment. But some holidaymakers have had to cancel their plans. The Passport Agency has confirmed they will get compensation, but insists few should miss out on trips abroad. The payout will come from the £21 fee for passports. Bosses deny this will now increase.
I should keep stressing the British passport is one of the cheapest in the world. Compensation claims account for a tiny amount of the £21 of the passport fee, probably less than 2p, and we expect that to remain the case.
Paul has now been assured his passport will be couriered to him and he'll be off to Paris instead of waiting for compensation. Lucy Manning, ITN.
Motor racing, Damon Hill said today's French Grand Prix could well have been his very last race. The Jordan driver admitted his career may now be over, rather than waiting until the end of the year after failing to finish the race. However, there are still celebrations in the Jordan team. Hill's teammate won the French Grand Prix. Here's Ian Abrahams.
Damon Hill had already confirmed this season would be his last and started 18th on the grid at Manicourt. Midway through the rain-hit French Grand Prix, the 38-year-old former world champion retired and told ITV Sport while the race continued he may only be at the British Grand Prix in a fortnight's time as a spectator.
It all went pear-shaped when an arrow punctured my tyre.
This could be your last race for Jordan?
It may well be, yes. There's some deciding to be done about Silverstone.
Rubens Barrichello, David Coulthard, Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher all led the race, but it was left to Hill's Jordan teammate Heinz Harald Frentzen to take victory. Sweeping past Hakkinen while the championship leader was in the pits, it was a tactical triumph for Frentzen, only his and his team's second Grand Prix win. While the Germans celebrated, British racing fans were left wondering who his teammate will be at Silverstone in a fortnight's time. Ian Abrahams, ITN Sport.
That's it. I'll be here again at 10:30. Till then, goodbye.
Good evening. And after yesterday, today felt like a different season, not just a different day. More showers on the way tomorrow too. The general rain, though, that we've had around today will gradually move away to the north and east overnight tonight, and we'll be left with just a scattering of showers, mostly in the west, the odd one perhaps filtering inland, but some good clear spells as well, and lowest temperatures around 8 for most of us. For tomorrow, quite a bit of sunshine to start the day, but showers will develop pretty quickly, I think, especially in the north and west. Around the middle of the day, there'll be some fairly heavy ones around, even eastern parts seeing the odd shower. In the southwest, you'll see a veil of cloud coming along during the afternoon with some more general rain on these weather fronts later in the day. As for temperatures, well, it's on the cool side still. We may just scrape a 20 somewhere. That would be 68. Here's a summary.
Power Gen. Power, whatever the weather.
There were leopards.
When you go to safari parks in this country,
There were crocodiles.
you know that you're safe from the animals.
Lots of snakes.
This was no safari park.
My heart was beating so powerfully.
This was a group of tourists lost in the African bush without a guide. Holidays from Hell, Monday night at 8:30 on ITV.
Alan finds himself in a tricky situation regarding the eco-protest. My Wonderful Life follows the break.
I'm going to eat a whole Victoria sponge all to myself.
Oh, very clever.
Exceedingly.
One extra mini classic forever, with my compliments.
Last year, NatWest helped 67,000 people break away.
and set up their own business.
They can be our closest friends.
I only known her for 2 years, but I love her to bits.
The things that a dog can do can really give people hope and inspiration.
And in their time of need, we're there for them.
She's like my best, closest friend.
Caring for the animals we love. The People's Vets, Wednesday at 8 on ITV. It's brand new, it's barking mad, and it guarantees to deliver the crazy new stars of the small screen. Next Friday at 7 on ITV proves if you're not animal crackers, you're just simply mad about pets.
Now on LWT, My Wonderful Life.
I feel sometimes things that you forget that I feel I got to get away from here. I feel and this girl's a person, you know. I feel
No. That's for the next 10 times you ask me if you can go out with Wes.
He's only just 18. Well, really, he's an old 17, and I'm 16 next summer, so there's only a year age gap.
Look, it's not about the age gap. It's the fact that he's 18 and the age gap.
Well, an age gap can be good. Look at Patsy and Liam.
That's not a good example.